The next question is going to lead off with Carolyn T. Lowry, and it is actually several questions along this theme. Several questions are asking, what is your position on the 2% city food tax? If you do not support it, can you provide specifics about how you would fund public service jobs and services that would otherwise be lost in District 8?
I'm against the taxes.
Oh.
I forgot what I was doing. I'm sorry, you guys. I don't like the taxes, the food taxes. And if I would have them removed, and the new mayor has a program that is built around recycling. And recycling programs bring in a lot of money and give little people, grassroots people, jobs and keep a few dollars in your pocket that way. We just need a steering committee that can come up with ways how we can improve our recycling program and clean our air and everything. And it's going to take people to do it. Of course, I could try it by myself, but I won't do that. I need you. I need you. So that's what we need. We need you.
Thank you. Lawrence Robinson.
Yeah, well, as we found out at the last debate, I spoke honestly to the crowd. I'll do it again today. I'm the only candidate on the stage who's going to tell you that I actually am not for early repeal of that food tax. Almost every other municipality in this county, bar 2, I believe, has a food tax. Ours is right in the middle. Now, if I was on the council when they instituted that food tax, which is set to sunset in 2015, I may not have voted for it. But the fact is that they looked at all the options and they made an adult decision to level with the city and tell them that that is what will buttress the funding for our after-school programs, our senior centers, our libraries, our parks, our pools, the stuff that frankly I don't think we want to live in a city without. And without that infrastructure and those resources, you're not going to attract the great jobs to our city. You're not going to give kids the actual competitive advantage to compete with kids from Scottsdale and Tempe. And you can't sell our land, you can't sell our neighborhoods out of this problem. That's not a fundamental long-term solution. And you can't tell people that you're for kids and for after-school programs, for education, without funding it. So we'll find the solution by 2015, but until then, don't cut it.
Time. Kate Eagle.
I'm proud to be the candidate who was down at the city budget meetings talking about this important issue early on and sharing my proposals for what we should do so that the voters can understand my perspective. I testified early on that we do need to sell some of the vacant land that the city of Phoenix owns, much of which is in District 8 and is sitting blighted. It's attracting crime, and it could provide great revenue to help us balance the budget. I spoke with the city manager, and we are not going to be cutting essential services. I want to repeat that again. We are not going to be cutting essential services, and we're going to be able to reduce the food tax, which is an incredibly regressive tax. It taxes something that is crucial to our lowest income residents, many of whom are already struggling to pay for food. And the city has been able to do this. We're going to get through this by selling assets that could then go in and become economic development engines. Some of these are lots within neighborhoods. Some of these are vacant lands around the community and we really can find a good solution that will leave us all better off.
Thank you. Pastor Stewart.
Sometimes there are crises that you have to do things that are very difficult, and we must remember that during the time when the food tax was implemented temporarily, this nation was in a crisis. Phoenix was over $50 billion in the red, and the council stood up and did what they felt they needed to do to save as many essential services as possible. I support the proposal that is on the plan now for the city council to incrementally reduce the tax by 1% January 1 and eliminate it completely next year, January 2015, through efficiency and innovation and cost management. The city manager and his staff has been able to save millions of dollars and begun to restore. 11 police officers were hired last week. They've begun to restore those services that were eliminated. And so I support the elimination of the food tax as is proposed to be voted on in October.
Thank you. Luis Rodriguez.
I got to speak quickly. When that tax was implemented, if you go back and read what Mayor Gordon said, it was to maintain and sustain police and fire. It was never used for that. $148 million was collected, not one penny was used for police. We don't have, until the 11 reserve officers were hired, we hadn't had an officer hired with the City of Phoenix since 2008. And as a matter of fact, we still don't have any in the academy. So if you think that's the solution, it may be temporarily, but we need to hire more officers. The problem is that we're taking in money from you, the taxpayer, your money, and we're not spending it the way it's supposed to be spent. We're lying to you about what we're using the money for. It was to sustain police, and we didn't hire any. In fact, we're 300 short of what we used to be because we hadn't hired any, and they keep retiring. So I want to get rid of it because it was never used for what it was supposed to be anyway. And we can do it through other efficiencies. There's plenty of waste in every bureaucracy, and I'll be willing to find them. Thank you.
Question, we're going to lead off with Kate Gallego. Without being general, what specific enticements would you use to bring businesses into South Phoenix / District 8? How would you fund your plan? Kate?
So I work in economic development, and this is something that's a passion for me. We have amazing people, amazing assets in this community, and we just need to make sure that the City of Phoenix does its part to give the people in the community the opportunities that they need. So I've been one of the 2 leaders of the general plan for the City of Phoenix, and we need to use that tool and other planning and zoning tools to make sure that we can look at assets like the area along the Salt River bed, which could be a great source for high-wage jobs, the way it has been in Tempe, and they've really created some neat opportunities with regional headquarters and great jobs. I also would love to see us invest in improving the telecommunications infrastructure in South Phoenix. It's incredibly strong in the northern part of District 8, but not as strong in the southern part, and that means that we miss out on some of the eBays of the world, and also this hurts some of our smallest entrepreneurs. So I've spoken to people in the South Mountain area, including a man who told me, I run a business out of my home and I don't have the opportunity to have high-speed internet here, and it's really slowing me down. So those investments are key.
That's time. Next, we have Pastor Stewart.
My putting people back to work plan includes working with the private and public sector to bring jobs into the district, companies to come here that are economically sound, that are environmentally safe, that would not only just have people drive in and out and work here, but to hire people who live, employ people who live here. And I've talked with companies that are very interested, and some that are already doing that. Also, it would include preparing young people to be competitive in the workforce, to help them, tutor them, mentor them to be able to do well in job interviews and how to fill out a resume. Working with small business that is often stymied and frustrated by red tape, to eliminate as much red tape as possible. But then also I would work with the city manager and the economic development department of the city in order to see what their plans are and how we can work together that the whole city, especially District 8, would become economically sound.
That's time. Thank you. Luis Rodriguez.
I think the first thing that you need to do to develop District 8, in particular the South Mountain area, is provide security. We need to provide stable security, including police officers and fire. No business wants to come here knowing that they're not safe. No business will do that. It'd be crazy to. They're about investing their time, their effort, their resources, their money. And in order to do that, they need to be ensured some measure of safety. And so that's first and foremost. Secondly, you got to talk directly to businesses. I mean, the Phoenix City Council cannot make people come and put businesses here. They have to come willingly, and we have to make the environment one that they want to come here. And I think that's what we need to do. We need to change the environment so that they want to come here. And that's the first step. Without that, we could have a ton of commissions and a ton of committees, but you're not going to force business leaders to do what they don't want to do.
Thank you. Ms. Lowry. The question was about recruiting businesses to South Phoenix and District 8.
Yeah. What we desperately need is some jobs out here in South Phoenix. You know, all this abandoned land and houses all boarded up, and we got more homeless people than ever before in South Phoenix. And hey, I love South Phoenix. I think we're doing pretty good myself. They just need, the city needs to invest some more money into South Phoenix. That's all it is. We get along. Every once in a while, somebody hurt somebody, but not too often. I haven't had a fight in a year. You know, once we get together, my people, and you get the right leaders, you're going to find out that things are going to change. We just need to get some people out of the off that city council seat and put somebody like Carolyn T. Laurie in there.
Thank you. Lawrence Robinson.
Well, I am proud of the role, as I've stated, in keeping our AAA bond rating, which keeps the city open for business. But I'll tell you this again. The reality is that if you cut that food tax, which I don't really love, you're not going to restore these vital city services. We've already cut half of the after-school programs. 41 out of 82 are already cut. And so how are we going to restore all the rest of them? And we know where the deepest cuts are. They're in districts that need them, like District 8. How are you going to restore them to give our kids the competitive advantage to graduate from school, 12th grade, to get these jobs we're attracting into the district? I would also say, why build these parking garages on the outskirts of town? Why don't we break those millions upon millions of dollars up into small businesses so folks like the Ledbetters or the Brunels can expand their businesses that are thriving down here in our district and create small jobs. My mom was a small business owner. She built from the dust up her daycare center on 7th and Southern and created jobs. She's not here so I can tell you the story, but her water broke in that small business with me. I was born almost in a small business. That's how we create jobs. It's not the 30,000 foot level, it's in the neighborhoods.